Previously on my Lana Del Rey career recap, we talked about Lana's third record, Honeymoon, an underrated ambient and alternative classic. Chronologically, we left off on the release of Honeymoon, its glowing reception, and the summer of 2015. At the end of 2015, Lana dispelled fan theories that she was retiring with an interview with NME, where she discussed the Lana Del Rey persona, acknowledged her prolific output, and even teased the next record, stating that her relationship with Interscope was flexible. In that same interview, NME asked her if she ever felt the pressure to deliver another video game-sized hit, to which she said, "Not really. That song didn't feel bigger than the album was, or the experience continues to be for me." A fascinating answer considering what her next album, Lust for Life, ended up becoming. Her fifth album, released on July 21st, 2017, it hewed closer to Born to Die, bringing back old producers and allowed Lana to tap back into the hip-hop influence that really did make Born to Die stand out in 2012. You know the drill, I'm going to talk about the road to the album, the promotional cycle, how it was received, as well as my own thoughts on Lust for Life, and why I think it really did free Lana Del Rey. We can't talk about Lust for Life without bringing up Lana's involvement in The Weeknd's projects, first on Prisoner in 2015, then on his smash 2016 record, Starboy. Lana provided backing vocals and songwriting for Party Monster, a single that peaked at 16, as well as the iconic Stargirl interlude. They'd eventually come together to co-write and record the title track for Lust for Life. Production-wise, Lust for Life was a homecoming for Lana and her Born to Die collaborators, Rick Nowels, who I've mentioned quite a bit in this series, and fellow Honeymoon producer Kieran Menzies came back to produce every track but Summer Bummer, which Nowels actually also provided additional production for. Justin Parker, who co-wrote many of the iconic tracks that we love on Born to Die, came back to co-write on Beautiful People, Beautiful Problems, which featured the iconic Stevie Nicks. Emil Haney co-produced and co-wrote the album's lead single, Love. Tim Larcombe, who co-wrote songs like Off to the Races and This Is What Makes Us Girls, came back to co-write and co-produce Cherry. On top of bringing back familiar faces, Lana also brought on board new producers Boy Wonder, Hector Delgado, Metro Booming, J Sweet, and the pop smash producer Benny Blanco. Also joining the fray was Dean Reed. Reed had provided some of the synths and drums for Dark Paradise. Last but not least, the one and only Max Martin provided songwriting and additional production for the title track. This was an A-list team of some of the producers in the pop, alternative, and hip-hop spaces. It spoke power to Lana's reach and influence as an artist, but also her growth. Let us consider her first trilogy of records. Born to Die was her splashy alt-pop debut, Ultraviolence was her leaning into alternative and letting her music speak for her. Honeymoon doubled down on that previous narrative. Lust for Life was a shocking return to the main stage, symbolically reconciling both of her strengths: impeccable, innovative, alternative sounds, and her undeniable pop star ready charisma. When I say Lust for Life freed Lana, I mean it both musically and image-wise. The record's not a straightforward pop blockbuster, but rather how Lana would wish one to look like. An eclectic showcase of her range as an artist, with hits that could appeal to the general public, and deep cuts for those who fell in love with the previous two records. Instead of subtle promo, Lana stepped back into the light again. She could have easily kept the same production team and the same promo method, but she invited new voices, and she opened herself up to the world again. Even the cover art felt different. For once, Lana is directly looking at us with a candid smile leaned against the same truck that was pictured in the Born to Die cover. Lust for Life felt like a capstone for her career at the time, a reinvention of the old and a preview into her future. I think Lana said it best in her press release for Love: "I made my first 4 albums for me, but this one is for my fans and about where I hope we are all headed." The album's promotional cycle kicked off in February 2017 when mysterious posters popped up teasing the release of a new song, Love. However, after leaks, Lana chose to drop it on February 18th, a surprise Saturday release. The Benny Blanco co-produced track was a critical and commercial success, peaking at 44 on the Hot 100 and was certified platinum. Its music video was a lush, romantic ode to the 60s, featuring some really trippy sci-fi imagery. Lana would reveal in an interview with Courtney Love that she she was glad that it was the first song, citing its positive, upbeat energy in turbulent times. She also teased a collab with Sean Lennon. The real mic drop moment for the album was at the very end of March when she revealed Lust for Life in a teaser video. Taking place in the H of the Hollywood sign, Lana monologued sharing what inspired the era over Twilight Zone-esque imagery, even teasing a collaboration with The Weeknd with an XO, and saying these iconic lines.
And as we transition out of one era into another one, there's no place I'd rather be than smack dab in the middle of Hollyweird making this record for you.
At the time, the album was set to drop on May 26. In April, Lana released the second single, Lust for Life, featuring The Weeknd, her first ever track to feature another artist directly. It peaked at 66 on the Hot 100 and was critically lauded for being a gorgeous throwback to the 60s, with lush harmonies and for Lana and Abel's amazing vocal chemistry. It's important to note that unlike her last two albums, Lana was performing her tracks, booking interviews with huge radio stations and big print magazines. She even performed at Radio 1's Big Weekend. This was her return to public stardom in a sense, and it was gratifying from a fan's perspective. In May, Lana dropped Coachella Woodstock in My Mind as a promo single. One of her managers, Ben Mawson, revealed on May 26 that the album would be pushed back to July 21st to add songs and some features. In July, right before the album drop, Lana released two singles, Summer Bummer, a collaboration with Playboi Carti and A$AP Rocky, who played JFK in her national anthem music video, and Groupie Love, another A$AP Rocky collaboration. And of course, who can forget this iconic fan interaction just days before the album dropped. Lust for Life was both a commercial and critical success. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, her second after Ultraviolence, selling 107,000 units. Critically, it was lauded for symbolizing Lana's evolution as an artist and being a profound and lovely record, with the most common complaint being about the album's length at 72 minutes. For a time, it was Lana's second highest rated record on Metacritic, just behind Honeymoon. Lana embarked on her first headlining tour since 2015, the LA to the Moon tour, in January 2018. That same month, she announced that Radiohead was suing her for Get Free being too similar to Creep. Lana would reveal that she won the lawsuit during her iconic Lollapalooza Brazil set that summer.
I mean, now that my lawsuit's over, I guess I can sing that song anytime I want, right?
Lust for Life would score Lana her second ever Best Pop Vocal Album Grammy nomination. And now I'm gonna talk about how I really feel about Lust for Life. Personally, Lust for Life was never really my favorite Lana album. When I first listened to it, I really thought it was unfocused, it needed to cut a few tracks. I really connected to some tracks like Get Free, which was my favorite way back when, and it remains one of my all-time favorite Lana tracks to this day. Over time, and looking back on the era itself and re-examining it, I've come to really appreciate it, despite its flaws. See, I view this album as a transitional record akin to Taylor Swift's Red. Though not quite the same in quality, they did serve similar roles. Red served as an epilogue to Taylor's country focus, ushering in a new pop era. Lust for Life is like an epilogue to Lana's first 3 records, and in some ways the journey that she took, taking the spotlight, retreating away from it, only to come back to it more assured and less affected by scrutiny. I personally view NFR, Chemtrails Over the Country Club, and Blue Bannister as a trilogy of sorts. Lust for Life isn't tethered to a single aesthetic or theme. If anything, it felt like a look into Lana's mind without specific design or purpose. This album thematically feels like Lana grappling with her legacy, sonically borrowing from previous works, but recontextualizing those works to tell contained stories and thoughts. It's self-aware, humorous in some ways, vulnerable, hopeful, and bright compared to her previous works, which each had a different manufactured and manicured, meticulous focus to them. 2017 in retrospect was a chaotic year in pop. It was the aftermath of the authenticity movement spurred by records like Joanne. Traditional pop was really fading away. Katy Perry went political, Lorde blessed us with melodrama and basically caused the Jack Antonoff Renaissance to begin. Taylor was embarking on the Reputation era, and in the middle of it all, Lana had blessed us with this earnest and thoughtful record. For some, her consistency was a life wrap of sorts. Unlike my previous videos, I will be going out of order because, like this record, my thoughts are all over the place. My hottest take is that Lust for Life, while not overtly political, was a better protest record than Witness, without ever intending to be. Around the album's release, Lana was not afraid to speak out. Lana ceased using the American flag backdrop during her tour. She even casually confirmed that she had hexed Donald Trump talking to NME. On the record itself, Coachella Woodstock in My Mind refers to a moment during Coachella where she invoked a prayer of peace. She reconciles the irony of spending a weekend dancing when tensions in North Korea were at an all-time high. Lana infamously called feminism not interesting during the ultraviolence era, and here she uses Lady Liberty to empower and praise women in God Bless America and the beautiful women in it. In an interview, she wrote that she was inspired by the Women's March and her concern about lawmakers not representing her or other women's best interest. The most charged song has to be When the World Was at War We Kept Dancing, where she contemplates the end of America as we know it, urging her listeners to stay awake, aware, to keep dancing, a metaphor evoking previous movements that called for love and change. The song Change itself alludes to nuclear fallout in the verses, calling out how sometimes thinking it's another person's job to care has led us to where we are. It has a hopeful note about the resilience of the people and still being there for change when it comes. On a lighter note, the album also continues Lana's running themes of romanticizing love and life, hence the title Lust for Life. I always thought that love was a perfect opener, a nostalgia-tinged warning, and hopeful ode to being young and in love. The production feels like a warm hug evoking both classic sounds and Born to Die. The title track, With the Weekend, is pop perfection, a gorgeous, sweeping, life-affirming song layered with so many references to classic Hollywood lore, 60s girl groups, The Great Gatsby, her own songs, and Iggy Pop. Abel's voice and the harmonies are magic. It's also not a Lana album without tragedy and love. 13 Beaches is a crushing highlight about Lana mourning a past lover while trying to find peace and privacy from the paparazzi. The chorus can feel like a metaphor about disliking the spotlight itself and needing to face it at times to continue doing her passion. Cherry feels like a continuation in her saga about men who are no good for her. The annoyance in her voice on this track makes this one a gem. The way that she says bitch is a classic, it's just so blunt. White Mustang feels so Born to Die, it almost feels like a sequel to Blue Jeans. The bridge really elevates the song for me, underscoring her fears, and those whistles are beautiful. The song feels like a beginning of saying goodbye to someone who won't change. The song In My Feelings continues these themes, but from an upbeat I'm glad I left perspective, an absolutely savage track about her ex, speculated to be the rapper G-Eazy. She iconically shaded him while performing this on tour, but the most devastating for me was surprisingly Tomorrow Never Came with Sean Lennon. Whenever Lana sings about abandonment, I can't help but feel for her. The chorus is so clear, painting the picture of lovers trying to reunite, but it never working out. Sean sounds so good on the track. He adds a vocal texture that really complements Lana's voice here. It's just great stuff. Beautiful People, Beautiful Problems was one of my early favorites just because I couldn't get over the fact that Lana was doing a track with Stevie Nicks and holding her own on it. It's such a glib, humorous song in a way because it's very cheeky. It's beautiful witch pop, almost satirical, but very honest. Very gorgeous. And honestly, Summer Bummer and Groupie Love get way too much unwarranted flack. While they both feel a little tacked on, I will say that they inject the album's track listing with much needed energy. A$AP Rocky's verses on Summer Bummer and Groupie Love feel earned, while Playboi Carti's verse in Summer Bummer really just floats on the beat. I'm going to end on two of my favorite tracks. Heroin is Lana's personal favorite and the longest track on Lust for Life. It is this epic story about the dangers of fame and the literal drug in question, and it has one of her best bridges of all time. I'm not going to speculate on her personal motivations for making the song, but you can really feel the emotion in the track. However, it's really Get Free that ties back to my original point. It is perhaps one of my favorite closing tracks on a record of all time. The lyrics for Amy and for Whitney never not make me cry, even if you can't hear it on the studio version. It's just an earworm with such a beautiful message about trusting yourself and finding freedom. Finding freedom away from what others want for you and just pursuing the happiness you want for yourself. You can feel how light Lana feels letting go as she sings out of the black into the blue. The black representing negative thinking, and the blue symbolizing the ocean, the sky, somewhere new, somewhere unexplored. When she sings, finally I'm crossing the threshold. She's citing the seminal hero's journey by Joseph Campbell, but also calls back to the opening lines of Born to Die. Feet don't fail me now, take me to the finish line. Get Free is her saying that she has crossed that finish line. She is ready to move on. Lust for Life as an era and an album feels like crossing that finish line. Lust for Life may not be perfect, but it is a solid 8.7 out of 10 for me. A worthy addition to her canon as a musician and the prelude to what many consider to be her magnum opus.
Water.
And that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to my 4th installment of the Lana Del Rey recap series. I plan to do one about NFR very soon, and within that I will touch on her collaboration with Ariana Grande, Don't Call Me Angel, and I might do a brief recap of the Blue Bannisters and Chemtrails Over the Country Club releases. I'm not sure I'm going to do a re-recording of those videos because most of my thoughts pretty much have stayed the same over the last 2 years, but if you guys want me to do it, I will do it after Ocean Boulevard has dropped. Shout out to my members. Feel free to comment below what your favorite track from Lust for Life is, how you felt about the era, and if you really did like the content, subscribe, and I will see you next video.